Journalism isn't an exact science, and you're reporting largely on what you see and what you're told, and you're not always getting the full picture. But in Israel, the press is so scrutinized, and particularly the pro-Israel lobby is so strong, that I think in Britain, certainly in terms of the British media, there's probably a little less bias in reporting than there is maybe anywhere else in the world. When it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I mean, Britain is considered to be a country, at least by the Israeli authorities, where pro-Palestinian sentiment is heavier, certainly than in the United States. However, you do have this split in the British press between The Guardian and The Independent, which taken openly, editorially, I'm talking on the comment pages, I'm talking in leader columns, will tend to be more sympathetic towards the Palestinian cause, whereas the Telegraph and the Times will be more pro-Israeli. The Telegraph is less likely to commission from me certain human rights stories about abuses committed against Palestinians. We do some of that, but I suspect it's slightly harder to get that in than if I were writing for The Guardian. There isn't any interference in what I write, but I suppose where there is a danger of bias, if you want to call it that, is by the sins of omission. There was a necessity to focus on the politics because it looked like there was progress for the first time on the peace process front. So naturally that had to take priority over other stories. However, when we're talking about deaths, the killing, the Hamas attack, which killed 4 Israeli settlers in early September when the talks first began in Washington, did get considerable coverage. There was less coverage of Palestinians who were killed, particularly in Gaza, because the British press or the foreign press are not based in Gaza all the time. The correspondents on the ground are far from perfect, and they are influenced by what they see, and I think that there is a tendency, correspondents do tend to take the side of the underdog. But I don't think that journalists on the ground make things up. On both sides, you get groups who make claims that do not seem credible, and we often get a lot of those, and sometimes you have to disregard it. Sometimes you need to try and investigate it, and sometimes there isn't time to investigate it. But there was a pro-Palestinian group a few months ago who presented a report which they tried to get us to write about Egyptian forces gassing Palestinian tunnel workers in the tunnel between Gaza and Sinai. We talked to sources and people who we trusted, and they said that they thought that this was probably untrue, but we didn't have time to mount a full investigation, so that was one story that we did not pursue. But again, I mean, it's just a question of judgment. I mean, in the Middle East, and particularly on Israel-Palestinian issues, you're inundated with different things that you can write about.